Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the AMA webinar. Thank you so much for joining. We will be discussing DIY market research and how agile data can generate impactful consumer insights that drive actionable and informed decisions, which bring us back meaningful business results. My name is Anna Fazuli. I am the VP of Sales at Pollfish and your moderator for this webinar. I'm going to let the panelists introduce themselves, starting with David.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dave Dugan. I am on the Consumer Insights team at Dish Network. I've been here for 3 years and based in Denver, Colorado. Prior to joining Dish, I spent several years on the research agency side. And here I manage our brand tracking, as well as work very closely with our Sling TV team on all different types of research around product and brand marketing. So thanks, and looking forward to the discussion today.
Great. Jesse, do you want to go next?
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everyone. I'm Jessie Tarlev. I'm Vice President, Head of Research and Consumer Insights at Bustle Digital Group. I have been at Bustle for about 4 years now. I joined after the 2016 election. My background is in political polling and academia. I came over to Bustle to start a millennial women-led insights team for a millennial women's publication. Now we have 9 publications under the Bustle Digital Group banner, and I head up all custom research across our publications, and really excited to be here and to get to talk about our experience with Pollfish and the wider research marketplace.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jesse. And John, to you.
Thank you, Anna. Hi, everybody. My name is John Papadakis. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Pollfish. Pollfish is a DIY market research platform, and we enable brands to bring market research in-house for fast decision-making. On a yearly basis, we connect more than 250 million consumers with brands for their market research needs and decision-making process. I'm looking forward to this conversation with all of you.
Thanks, John. All right, everyone. So this webinar includes a 30-minute guided roundtable discussion during which these panelists will discuss the evolution of market research needs from a business perspective, the demand for faster results, of course, and the impact on the market research industry overall. We'll wrap up with a 15-minute Q&A session and answer any questions received from the audience. And a recording of this event will be available on the AMA website within the next day. If you have any questions during the webinar, please submit them via Zoom chat, and we will try to get to them in the Q&A section. So I will start off our discussion for a question to everybody, a very generalized question. So let's start off with, what are the needs driving market research today? Jesse, why don't we start with you?
Okay, awesome. So I feel, and I'm going to guess that my co-panelists feel the same way, that if you had asked us this question pre-COVID, our answers would have been dramatically different. The last kind of 15 to 16 months has really changed the research landscape. And the need for results super fast. There was no lead time anymore of, I'll get back to you in a month, when a brand is asking you like what's going on with our consumers today. And I would say that the majority of the research that we do is for our brand and agency partners. We work on an advertising model. So that's how Bustle Digital Group stays afloat. So agility, speed, ease, mostly speed is what's driving market research today, at least from a Bustle perspective. We were founded on, my group, and continue to be to live by the credo of let insights lead the way. And we always wanted to make sure that the kind of campaigns that we were running were underpinned by some good data. And now that we have so many different brands that have also come on board during this COVID time, we have partners that I never expected we would be working with. Our list looks so dramatically different from just a couple of years ago. People are asking questions in every which direction, and you need to have a good answer for them, whether that's who your consumers are or something that fits to what their product needs are, or how they're thinking about delivering more success for their consumers, or just how to get more lift out of their campaigns. So we just had to move super fast, be really agile, and get results out the door as soon as possible.
Wonderful. So I want to dig a little deeper on those 3 KPIs you mentioned. How do budget, accuracy, and speed factor into successful market research on a global scale? David, do you want to start off with this one?
Yeah, sure thing. Those are all very, very critical factors. So at our organization and our insights team, we actually very much serve as a almost like a supplier side agency. We do, I would say, a majority of our research in-house. We partner with select for companies when they have a very strong specialty like a Pollfish for agile research. So, we're on a lean budget, and it's great to have the ability when we get quick questions in a meeting to be able to have answers within a few days. But it's not just speed that really is driving us. We need accurate insights, good quality data. So there's a lot of rigor that still goes into everything that we're doing. When we run any study, whether it's a long-term or a really deep concept test or something like that, down to, hey, I need a quick answer for a board meeting on Saturday and it's Thursday. So all very critical factors, and really what's driving our team in everything we do.
Great. Jesse, do you want to follow up to that?
Yeah, I should have noted in my preamble that budget is obviously a really important piece of this puzzle, especially when you're being given limited budget, whether that's from internal teams. We work with the editorial team across our 9 properties a lot more frequently than we used to, because they started to notice a little later than I would have liked, but at least they know now that articles that have numbers in them tend to do better, because people are trying to learn something from what they're reading, and they want to, when you show up at the proverbial dinner party, which I guess is now over Zoom, but hopefully in person soon, you want to have a factoid, right? And the articles that do the best across Bustle properties are like listicles, like here are the top 5 things that you can do to help X cause, or to perfect this look for you in the kind of beauty and fashion area. So lots of requests coming in from edit, and not huge budgets, especially for what we have internally. And if you or anyone who's watching this webinar has had the experience of actually pricing out the hard costs of what it takes to get a digital campaign off the ground with what you're getting from a brand partner, you know that money is tight, and it's a finite resource. So we're definitely paying attention to that. And what has been really great for us about using Pollfish as a research tool is that when you get 25 questions, you can mix and match, right? So the poll doesn't have to be all about one topic. You can split it up and still get a hefty amount of answers about X topic, right? Like you can mix in skincare with athleisure, which might not sound that exciting to everyone else on the call, but I can tell you within the walls of Bustle, that's a huge win for us. And the accuracy has been fantastic. And the new cross-tab functionality, the ability to splice your results by whatever group you're trying to target with great amount of ease, to the point that I actually send the Pollfish link to our partners externally and let them play in the data, has made the experience so much better and seamless. And they're very thankful for the hands-on approach to it, where they can then come back to you and say, oh, I split it this way. What do you think about that? And we might rejigger our demographic focus because of something they stumbled upon.
That's great. And I think that's a perfect transition to John, maybe rounding out that question.
Yeah, so maybe I can, share our experience with all the use cases we see here. Obviously, we have two amazing use cases here today. But what we've seen throughout the years is that as research became more and more affordable, right, it's so much faster, it's not that just the same researchers will do the same research for a smaller amount of money. We saw a huge amount of new use cases. We saw data-driven articles. We saw smaller decision-making really coming into play, not just large brand tracking, but a couple of smaller things that you need data to optimize and make a better decision. And the use cases are being increasing every single day. So every single day we see more and more use cases in our platform, and that's really great for the whole market research industry. What that means and what drives market research, I believe, is the competition. As data becomes more and more accessible, everybody needs to jump in and everybody needs to make decisions faster. And I believe that this is great news. And maybe we're living the golden era of market research in general.
Also. Okay, so on to the second main question. How are we able to now meet this overwhelming need of more data faster? And Jessica, do you want to take this one?
Sure. I feel like I'm talking triple everyone else, but maybe I'm sure if we did a study on it, there would be some gender factor in that.
Right.
But yes, I would love to go first.
Hmm.
So I already talked about, the ability to field surveys in a diverse pool of demographics and the cross-tab functionality that makes all of this easy. And I know that we're going to talk about this a little bit more in the webinar, but having DIY tools like Pollfish is just such an excellent complement to other market research tools that one can use. So we use Pollfish for a lot of our bigger studies. We have our own panel, our own reader panel, which is something that brand partners are very high on because they love to hear, this is a sample of Bustle readers, this is a sample of Romper readers, this is Elite Daily readers who think that. And obviously you can cut within Pollfish as well to do that. But the key, I think, to meeting the demand faster that Pollfish has really given us a leg up on is the access to Gen Z that we wouldn't be getting with other tools. We have a couple of publications that are very heavily skewed towards, later stage teenagers to young 20s. We consider Gen Z to running up to about 25, 26 years old in terms of attitudes. And now increasingly younger millennials actually fit the same personality set as Gen Zs, while older millennials are much like Gen Xers. So there's this fissure happening, and being able to very quickly reach that kind of target demographic that was so elusive to brands for so long. When I first arrived at Bustle, I remember we had a meeting with Beats and they were like, can you access 17-year-olds? All we want to do is talk to 17-year-olds without having to go through their mom. And I couldn't, right? There was no way to be able to do that. So having a DIY tool that meets consumers where they are, the fact that it's app-based, and I am dating myself as an older millennial that I'm going to reference something like Candy Crush, right? But meeting someone on Candy Crush versus calling them up or sending them a form poll like we have throughout the years, certainly since I got involved in research over 10 years ago, has just given us a huge advantage to getting accurate, good results out faster.
Right. And as trends are always changing with Gen Z, Gen Y, Gen X, you guys need something very quickly.
Very quick.
And in thinking about more data faster, and John talking about all the new use cases we've seen crop up on our platform in the past year, I think, David, a lot about the COVID trackers that your team started very early on and have successfully executed and continued all the way up until today.
Yeah. So our dish side of the business, the satellite business, is very driven by a couple of things. One, the ability to be in a person's home and to provide satellite service, whether that's setup or maintenance. And COVID, obviously, all of a sudden made that much more challenging for our side of the business. So we had to quickly, when everything shut down last year, understand, what do we need to do as an organization? Because people are still going to need that service. How do we make them comfortable within their homes? What actions can we take in-house? But not only that, but how we're actually messaging our service too. Should we start putting, showing technicians with masks in our imagery and on our website, and all of the tasks that lead up to selling satellite service and getting somebody in a home where it's really important to monitor those trends. Additionally, a fair amount of our business is driven by direct mail. And on that same front, people are going to be checking their mail less often. And they're going to maybe be a little bit less likely to look at something that is flashy. And it just because out of concerns of, did the postal carrier have something, or are they being safe? So a lot of that stuff was impacting our business. So we actually, at a quick request, of course, ran a study via Pollfish among our core consumers to see, just to really understand what these behaviors and attitudes were. And then a couple weeks later, they wanted another round and another and another. So we've run it. It was bi-weekly for a long time. We're at monthly now, just until we figure out what that new normal is. But we probably ran about 30 waves of tracking research from what started as a, hey, we need a quick request. And then this data is really important, goes up to board meetings and is really socialized across the organization, and has helped us really understand how we need to, work with consumers and our customers in these, uncertain times. And now we're just trying to figure out what that new normal is with, with all of those habits and attitudes surrounding, like I said, direct mail and satellite service.
Great, fantastic. Yeah, go for it.
Add something quickly to that. David made me think about something that we did for the first few months of COVID, where we were running surveys, not only on consumer sentiment towards what was going on COVID-wise, but also the Black Lives Matter movement. And from that, we were able to create research reports or trend reports that we distributed to brand and agency partners, just to keep them updated on where their target customers were. What brands were doing it right was something that was hugely popular. So we were in deep dive discussions about, why Nike was hitting the nail on the head, what organizations like Under Armour had a big goof, like how they were really missing the mark in terms of that. Obviously that went like across a broad range of products and brands, and our brand partners totally ate that up, obviously. And we're using Pollfish now actually for a big study on re-entering the real world. So what that looks like, because it came on so quickly. I don't know if you guys were as surprised as I was that it was just like, I woke up one day and the CDC said, rip off your mask and you can all go back into the world. And it was like a 5-alarm fire from every single one of our partners who said, well, what do? We prepared to go through the fall in terms of let's do this safely, right? This are the precautions we're taking. We're still producing hand sanitizer, right? Maybe you're not going back to school, and suddenly Walmart, Target, Microsoft, everybody needs to know, how do we help our customers re-enter safely and securely? So we're using Pollfish for that. So it's really gone full circle in terms of what we've used the tool for, all though to make our brand partners feel like they can trust us to answer the big questions about where we are in the current day.
Great. That's an amazing example, just to show how quickly everything is changing just within this pandemic era, and the insights needed for each little change.
Yeah, if anyone's on the call and would like to buy that study, please reach out to me after the webinar.
Very nice.
Unfortunately, my research isn't for sale, so but happy to talk about it though.
We've talked a lot about the research faster and what you guys have done with that fast data. And I think a part of it that's important at Pollfish is the methodology that gets that fast turnaround time. John, do you want to go into the RDE, the organic sampling part of this?
Yeah, and I think it fits very well with those amazing examples. Really, I'm so excited to hear how the specific examples get used. When we think about Pollfish, essentially we need to have the building blocks for those examples, those use cases to come to life, right? We don't do any research on our own. We are not a research house. We're a research product, correct? So what we're thinking about when we're building Pollfish and when we deliver the services, or how do we reach people? We need a scale, a channel or distribution methods that have scalability that we want on a global scale, consistency, but also how do you improve the speed and the cost so that David and Jessica can run and start with a test, and that can become iteratively a bigger study and bigger study. And so how do you go into an iterative model instead of a more monolithic one? And I believe it has to do with a lot of cost and the speed together. The RDE, we can talk hours about this. In essence, what we do is that we reach out real people with a random fashion, and we give them a really good UI, a really good experience. We get people to answer surveys when they're in a state of mind of answering, of getting distracted. So I'm going to give you an example. If I'm going to send you a survey on the email, you're probably going to have a lot of work. You're going to archive it, or you're not going to pay attention to it unless there's a huge incentive. If I'm going to send you a survey while you're playing a game, chances are that you're playing a game or you're opening an app on your phone because you want to be distracted. We get people in a state of mind that really take the time to answer the survey. We give them a really good user experience so that we believe a great user experience yields great quality data. And then we have a whole technology that on its own can be a different company in reality that can digest the data, understand if something is wrong with the data, and discard the portion that is wrong and really maintain the portion that is good. So by going to the real consumers at a massive scale, you have a better pricing, but you need to create technology that understands the quality and being able to filter out bad data and only keep the good data. So that combination is a very simple wording of what RDE is and how we utilize the methodology.
Yeah, and I mean, to echo what John was saying, methodology, sample, survey experience, questionnaire design are just so critical to everything that we do, whether it's an agile research through a tool like Pollfish, or getting research reports, or any type of questionnaire and anything we develop. So having that rigor to detect fraud, to make sure you're getting a balanced sample that's representative of the audience that you are trying to reach out to and understand. I think I could probably speak for all of us and anyone with research experience. You really can't understate the importance of having a really solid design before you go into executing a research project, especially when you need to do something quickly through an agile tool.
Great, and great round out of the holistic view of more faster, I think. So let's move on to the third topic, the future. What does the future of market research look like? And I'm thinking, let's just stay with the trend. Jesse, you wanna start us off?
Sure. I'll start by, I guess, returning to my first statement, which was, if we had this webinar a year and change ago, it would look very different than it does today. And likewise, I always try to stay away from saying definitively what the future of anything looks like, because with technology, we're just changing so quickly. I mean, it used to be a pipe dream for me as a researcher to be able to get video diaries from the people that we were surveying. And now we have tools that do that for you in like an hour, right? And you have a Pollfish, and I used to toil away, trying to program a Google form or a Survey Monkey, not being able to get a customer service representative on the phone. And now we work with Pollfish and have a dedicated representative that is checking every single poll that we put into the tool to make sure that we're not even wasting one question. And especially when we're trying to work on shoestring budgets, which unfortunately all research departments are, which seems so strange because everyone's so reliant on what we do. And then they're like, you could do this for free, right? And you're like, no, I can't actually really do it for free. So I think that the future looks a lot like this. Right. So wherever your phone is, everything needs to be able to be done there. And that's quantitative research and qualitative research. I mentioned earlier that we have our own reader panel, which is obviously hosted separately from Pollfish. I think that that will also become more common in terms of research so that people can build their own communities. I think community is really the word of 2021 for a whole host of reasons. And people want that intimate experience where they're aligned with like-minded individuals and can participate in quant surveys where we then discuss them in focus groups. We do that constantly. Like we'll use a Pollfish. We did a big skincare study and then ran skincare focus groups using the results that we had as the fodder for the discussion. So I think the marriage between quant and qual will get even stronger. They're not going to go through a COVID divorce. A lot more video and faster and cheaper and everything on mobile. I doubt you'll be hearing desktop for a very, very long time.
Yeah. I mean, I agree with everything that Jessica mentioned there, and also too, I mentioned earlier that our team works with doing all of our in-house and just having that small set of suppliers. It's the ones that can really bring something extra. There are a lot of great research companies out there that do great work, but our partners like the Pollfish are the ones that really go above and beyond and are leading the industry in technology and behavioral analysis using AI. I know that's a buzzword, but it really is getting into the DNA of the insights community, and when it does work, it is phenomenal what we are seeing with using that type of technology. So but we've always really strived to understand the why behind the what when we do research. And as Jesse mentioned, that's just getting more and more just integrated into everything we do. We have to have that qualitative feedback to really provide the punch and stand behind the numbers.
I also agree with two. I'm going to give a different perspective on this, and I'm going to go that the future of market research is going to be productizing services as much as we can, and automating all the manual repetitive stuff we see in that process. And that, I would say, hideous process years ago. It's very, very long. It takes a very long time to really launch proper study, but most of those things are repetitive. And so if you automate everything that can be automated, then you focus the researcher, you focus the people to what's important, to the presentation, interpretation, and design. And if everything else is automated, David and Jessica will have much more free time to work on the designing and the interpretation of it. So I see a huge shift towards this and automation, meaning. And automation also lowers the prices, natural. You need less, you don't need the account manager for a single entry on your questionnaire. You do it yourself. You don't need, people to entry something, do data entry. This is automated. But with that comes democratization as well. So more people can access it. More people, maybe not researchers, can try and do this. So I see a lot of tools that try and get like templates, automating everything, try to help people to do research that are in different departments. That is what is coming. And AI, again, David, I agree with you, the buzzword, but advanced algorithms will help that in the future. So that essentially productizing services, I believe it's what's coming next.
I just want to add the word democratization, I think, is so important in a whole host of areas, but especially in this, because it used to be that just a few years ago, if you didn't have a polling partner that was recognized by kind of this like ivory tower polling community, you couldn't get your results published. You couldn't even get an article in Adweek or Digiday. Even if you did a study with 5,000 respondents, it was like, oh, you weren't partnered with Gallup. And now organizations have realized that the presidential election is predicted on a poll of 643 people across the entire country, right? Like you can get a representative sample that's tiny and it can be right. And that people are not picking up landlines, they're not doing things traditionally, and that senior citizens aren't deciding the future, Gen Zs and millennials are. And that's, I think, a real key. That recognition and the acceptance of alternative research methods is also really central to the future of market research.
That's really key, and that's really important as well. One note here is that when you look at an industry where it's going, you might as well look at a different industry that is next to it, that's very related to it, and how that industry evolved. And with market research, you can see marketing, right? Marketing, if you follow marketing, evolution 5 or 10 years ago, you will see that market research follows the same steps. And again, they went from services to automation as well. But that amazing campaign will come from amazing, agency, will amazing marketeer at the end of the day.
No, that's great. That's great. Why don't we go ahead and get into some of these great questions that have been submitted in both the Q&A section and also some of the registrants sent through questions when they registered. I'm just going to let this be a free-for-all, so prayers for not much dead air after I send out the question, but everybody feel free to give your quick insights on these questions. So the first question, for ad agencies who sometimes need to do research to verify user experiences in the marketing funnel without client budgets, what are some of the most effective methodologies? Also, for pitching RFPs, what are some smart research techniques that can give an agency an edge without breaking the bank on new business expenditures?
Yeah, I can I'll take the latter half of that question, actually. For agency pitches, I would say the best thing to come into it would be to know the brand. So anything that you can do to really understand the brand, their DNA, the hearts and minds of their consumers, that's going to be really important. And also understand the strategic direction of where they've been, and as much as you can where they're going. So there are a lot of different methodologies to tackle that. Agile research, of course, is a great tool to get at some of that, especially, a lot goes into developing an agency pitch, but we in our Insights team actually sit on some agency pitches, and even sometimes they come to us to even ask that. So don't be afraid to ask the company if you can talk to their Insights team to learn about it, because the more you come in, the smarter you come into the pitch, the more likelihood you're going to be able to grab the attention of the participants.
That is such great feedback. I mean, I didn't even know that was something that you could ask. So hopefully that is super helpful for those listening and watching. Any other thoughts? Should I move on to the next question?
No, I can add to that, since
Okay.
These are a large amount of the requests that we get. Agency partners say, we really need to know this. We have no money. Please help. And I would say,
I get that as well.
so my boss would kill me for saying, I don't think he's watching. Use us. Because we need your business, so we're going to do free stuff for you. And that's one way, obviously, to offset budget constraints. think creatively. I mean, the people that you're trying to talk to will do a lot for the chance to win a $50 Visa gift card. Let me tell you, like participating in focus groups, taking a survey. I mean, it doesn't have to be as expensive as you think. And just make sure that you're also using what's available just out there, like sign up for newsletters like Cassandra Daily has incredible insights in it. I mean, specifically for like Bustle Digital Group's properties where we're kind of running the, you know, Gen Z through Gen X category. Obviously W is a bit higher end in the luxury category, but look around at what's available to you. Organizations like eMarketer will put things out in the public stratosphere. We have a membership, something called Mintel, which does cost a lot of money, but is a huge boon for our business across all categories, the editorial side, the revenue side. So think creatively, and when budgeting comes around on an annual basis, make a strong case to the powers that be, you know, with the purse, that these are insights that will raise your success rate on your pitches. And it absolutely will from our experience working with agencies and helping them along in this process.
Great, thanks, Jesse. Okay, let's go to Ken's question. How do you know that the participants represent the groups you want?
I guess that's a question for me or the platform. It's actually an easy answer. We know who the participant is in terms of demographic and anonymized criteria. And if we don't, we actually obtain that information in real time, and then we route the proper people to the proper audiences. It's a simple targeting methodology that that allows us to do representative sampling, or whoever client has specific quotas, they will only get that portion of the audience they're looking for.
Great. And I will lob another Pollfish question to you. How does Pollfish use AI to make consumer insights better?
Right. Most of our advanced tools lie on the fraud detection and the quality assurance. This is where we put most of the engineering effort on that front. There's a lot of things to do. There's constantly the need to improve the data quality and improve the deliverables to the clients. And this is where a category like ML and AI will be able to learn more as you go. You'll be able to learn more from the good participants and the bad participants, and look at for traits that a human eye cannot really detect. So this is a vast majority of our investments in that field, in fraud detection.
Thanks, John. This is a great question. David and Jesse, I would love to hear your feedback on this. Are large brand health trackers / segmentations dead with this new style of fast tech-based research?
God, no. No, they're not dead. Sorry. Yeah, like I said, I manage our brain health tracking, and I mean, I mean, it can be used for brain health tracking. It can complement brain health tracking, segmentation. I just shared out a segmentation study to our entire Sling org yesterday, and it's it can be used to tackle those types of research, but they still live and breathe, and knowing your consumers, knowing your brand health are so super critical to doing everything you do on a day-to-day basis, whether you're managing a small niche brand or a large brand like a Dish or a Sling. So yeah, they're definitely not dead. But that being said, I'll say, to my point earlier, a lot of companies can do brand health tracking, but my recommendation would be find the ones that really can predict future brand health and future business outcomes. That's where our partner is able to do that in that case, and it's been an amazing journey to work with them in that case.
I'll echo David's sentiments and add a little bit of jealousy because I don't have my own brand health tracking poll, and I would absolutely love to. I think that something that gets lost in the sea of so many new tools is the value of understanding trends over time. And I see so many reports that have taken a lot of money and investment that are really capturing just like 20 minutes in our national consciousness or in a global consciousness, ignoring decades and decades and decades of research that proves out that this is a trend in the blip sense. This is not a trend. It's not like Birkenstocks. Like this isn't going to stick around forever. Like your grandma, your mom, and you are going to wear Birkenstocks and your baby. But certain things that pop up are just going to be here for a moment. And these tracker studies help us stay aware of things that can go the distance, that can stay it. VML-YNR has also a brand tracking study that's fantastic. And they rely on that to couple it with new research to pitch new clients to say like, well, we know your industry, like pharma is a huge category. Well, we know about attitudes towards Botox from 1960 up until now. They're not just walking in and saying like, have you seen how many 27-year-olds are getting preemptive Botox? Like, that's great. It's an interesting tidbit, but it doesn't paint the entire picture. But they are expensive. They are big, and not every organization can have them. And so aligning yourselves with organizations that will be able to share or to find ways to tap into bits and pieces of data that are shared, like joining these kinds of panels, I think is a great way to get that kind of understanding when you don't have access to that data within your organization. But it's completely vital.
Great. This is a good question following up to your mention of more regulated industries. So Andrew asked, what are some key considerations using this approach or tool for brands in highly regulated industries? So beyond the typical known for regulated industries. For instance, do you run into response rate issues with legalistic disclaimers, et cetera?
I don't know if this answer, is this you, John?
Yeah, Anna, who is me?
I don't know.
Yeah, I
just
think there was this question, and also there along the lines of this one was another, how do you efficiently navigate DIY research in highly regulated industries? So, I know that we work with a number of pharma brands, hospitals, where we've had to jump through those hoops and make sure they feel comfortable using our tool.
Yeah, I mean, we've had experience with that. Highly regulated markets. I mean, I believe the most highly regulated of them. The great thing is that some of the data or the brand who's running the study doesn't necessarily need to be public. The data obviously need to be extremely, totally anonymized and follow all the regulations of Safe Harbor and GDPR explicitly. Likely we do that for every single time, so there was no issue with this. But yes, highly regulated markets like hospitals, pharma, and others, and finance institutions, or being utilizing polling with self-serve research.
Great. This is a good one too. What are the research use cases across a spectrum of easy to more complex, i.e. creative asset to creative segmentation? I think we're talking about what's best on, or how you would execute those on a DIY solution.
Yeah, so I don't know if easy is a good word to use when it comes to consumer insights, because like I said earlier, you really have to have rigor. You have to understand how to write a good questionnaire. You don't want to get a sort of a crap in, crap out situation. So if you are a less experienced researcher and you say you have a pool like Pollfish, definitely use the resources that are available within that tool to, learn best practices for writing questionnaires, learn about, how to set up your sampling plan, how to write a screener, how to put logic into a survey. But I would say nothing that we do is easy. I guess if it's a shorter topic, that might be a little bit easier to have a shorter questionnaire. And yeah, a segmentation study is definitely more complicated than like a concept test. But again, they all still need, a lot of thought, a lot of rigor to make sure you're nailing down the methodology. Because at the end of the day, your job, whether you're on the supplier side or client side, like Jesse and I, the people that you are providing the data to need to trust the response. So having a strong tool and having the rigor behind it are again, critically important for that.
Great. And we'll probably start wrapping soon. I think a good 2-in-1 question for as a final one. Dalton asks, as someone entering the market research industry for the first time, what resources would you recommend to better familiarize myself with tools that are revolutionizing the industry? And there was also a question that where can I get insights and updates on market research?
So I think because I was the one who mentioned Cassandra Daly, that I'll start by saying, if you'd like to message me on LinkedIn, that might be a better place to go because there are so many different areas that you can go into and resources that are out there. But when I was starting out, especially transitioning from political polling, where my entire life was, gun safety reform and soda bans and healthcare reform and all of that, to like, what is digital media and how could I possibly go to a meeting with, Adidas? I only know how to talk to a candidate kind of problems, that I just started consuming as much as I possibly could and making sure that I was checking for where the data came from in any article that I was reading. And then more likely than not, data professionals do want to talk to you further. So if you read something, whether it's in the New York Times or it's in a trade, like you're reading Women's Wear Daily, message whoever wrote the article or if they cite where the data came from, and then get in touch with them and ask their advice about that, what they're following, what they use for trend tracking. I will say for us that we very much let editorial on our sites be our guide to like what's cool and what's happening and all of that. So I think anything actually that you're consuming can be a fantastic resource for you.
Yeah,
And I
and
think we have 1 more minute, David, if you want to wrap it up.
yeah, I'll say the same thing too. I see a question from Ken here. You can message me on LinkedIn to talk about brain health tracking. I could talk to you about that for a full day if you'd like. But same thing. I mean, there are so many resources. Quirks is a publication that's been around forever, even when I was starting out. But I mean, I would say, like, my advice to new researchers is, don't be afraid to start at the bottom. Don't be afraid to get your hands dirty. I actually started as a call center agent. I've been around for a while. And I tell you, probably like the few years I spent doing that and managing a call center for research surveys, and actually similar to Jesse, it was in a lot of political polling with Harris back in the day. That experience just really helped shape everything I do. And it was a great foundational place to start. So yeah. But again, there's so many resources to learn about market research in addition to what you might study in school.
Great. Well, thanks, John. Thanks, David. Thank you, Jesse, for joining and speaking on this roundtable. Thank you, everyone who Zoomed in, for taking time out of your busy Friday, I'm sure. I hope that everybody has a wonderful weekend. Thank you again for joining us. This roundtable will be available on the AMA website, I think by tomorrow, and you will also hear from Pollfish as well if you registered. So thanks everyone, and have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jessica, David, Nana. and everybody here.